Hi there. I've had a number of requests for a longer but very basic deep stretch class. So this class is 60 minutes and it's basic in the sense that the poses aren't necessarily complex or complicated, but that doesn't mean that it is not challenging if you're working on gaining more flexibility. This class is perfect for you if you're an athlete who wants to supplement your activities with some deep stretch. This is also perfect for you if you're a yogi who just loves deep stretch classes. So just a simple reminder that one thing that makes yoga unique from other sports and activities is breath work. So I'll be talking about breathing throughout this class, and to the best of your ability, stay connected to your breath, and we'll start with a breathing exercise just to get you connected to your breath. So come into a seated position. If you're very tight in the hips and this is uncomfortable for you, I really want you to be aware of the length and height of your spine. So if you're sitting cross-legged and you're hunched over, maybe choose a different seated position. So you could come onto your shins if that helps you keep your spine upright. If you do have access to a block or something that can be, or something that looks like this, you can sit on a block, and that helps to elevate your hips so they don't feel as tight. And then if you're comfortable or want to, close your eyes. If not, you can keep your eyes open and just find a place to focus. So you can look out in front of you or just off in the distance. And then just try to keep your gaze really soft and your face really soft. So we're gonna do a pranayama or a breathing exercise called equal breathing. I'll guide you into it, then we'll just do about 10 rounds of breath, and then we'll start with our deep stretch. So go ahead and empty out your breath to begin. And then we're going to take a deep inhale through the nose to the count of 5. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just pause your breath at the top and then exhale through your nose to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Little pause at the bottom of the breath, and again inhale to the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through your nose, slow and steady. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to let you continue to breathe on your own. If you need to change the pace or the count of your breath, feel free to do that. Make it comfortable, but try to have your inhales equal the length of your exhales. Couple more breaths here in your seated position. Last inhale and exhale. If your eyes are closed, open your eyes. Continue to breathe steadily throughout your practice. Go ahead, if you're not already on your shins, go ahead and come onto your shins. And then go ahead and tuck your toes underneath you. Spread your toes wide so that all of your toes are in contact with your mat, and then sit your weight back on your heels. And once again, find an upright spine. In this position, continue to breathe in and out through your nose because it can get intense pretty quickly. So this class is going to be structured, working our way up from our toes to the crown of our head. So the first half of this class is going to be focused on the lower half of the body. Midway through class, we're going to do one strength building posture that includes legs, core, and arms. It's optional, of course. So the second half of the class will be focused on the upper half of the body. So if you're looking for one specific thing, you can basically make your way halfway through class if you're looking just to do shoulder and upper neck work. So we're gonna just take a couple more breaths in this posture called toes pose, and then we'll work toward the tops of the feet and the ankles. So one more breath here. Go ahead and rock your way forward. Give your feet a little bit of a shake. Get the blood flowing back into your toes, your joints, your ankles. Really good posture for the health of your feet and your ankles. Now keep the tops of your feet flat to the floor. Sit your hips back again on your heels. And this time, if it's accessible to you, rock your weight back and lift your knees up. If you have an ankle injury, this is not the best posture for you, so go ahead and skip it. If it feels like a stretch just to have your knees down on the ground and your ankles resting on the ground, just take that position. So you just tilt your knees back as much as you can to the point where it's a little bit uncomfortable because you're getting a stretch, but there's no pain. So no pain ever in any of these postures. Let's take about 3 more breaths in this position. Again, focus on long, slow, steady inhales and exhales through your nose. For your last breath, maybe lift your knees just a tad bit higher. And then go ahead, if your knees are lifted, rest them back on the floor. And do the same thing we just did after our last posture. Give your feet a little bit of a shake. Feel the blood rushing back in. You can even flex your toes under if that feels good. Just releasing the posture here. So continue to stay on your hands and your knees. And then we're going to take a calf stretch. So go ahead and extend your right leg, or either leg, it doesn't matter. We're going to do both. Extend your right leg out behind you. And again, tuck your toes under. And then start to press your heel all the way back. So you feel a stretch in your Achilles tendon and a stretch in your calf. And then we're going to bump this stretch up to the outer hip. So go ahead and take your extended leg and just cross it over your bent leg, your left leg. And once again, tuck your toes under and then actively bump your right hip to the right and start to peek out towards your right toes. So peek out behind you and you'll feel a stretch on the outside of your right hip and your side. And come back to center and we'll switch sides. So extend your left leg out behind you, tuck your toes under, press back through your left heel. So again, the further you push yourself, the more stretch you're gonna feel. So you wanna feel a deep stretch, and again, no pain. You should feel this in your Achilles tendon and your calf on your left side. All right, now take your left leg, cross it over your right leg. Again, tuck your toes under, press your heel back, and then actively bump your hips to the left and look towards your left toes. So you feel a stretch in your right side or outer edge of your left hip, or sorry, your left side. And then come back to center so that you're in a tabletop position. All right, so working our way up now, we're going to take a stretch for the knees and the quadriceps, or your thighs, the tops of your legs. So bring your knees together and then separate your feet. The tops of your feet are going to continue to stay flat to the floor. You're going to start to sit your hips back between your heels. Once again, if you have a block or something that looks like a block, you're tight in the hips or the knees, you can sit at any height on your block. Okay, the other option, if you don't have a block or if this is not accessible to you at all, this is called hero pose. You can come back and sit hips to heels. This might feel like a big stretch for your knees and your thighs. If you're very open in your knees and your thighs and you want a deeper stretch, the last option is to recline backwards. So you can take your hands out behind you, lift your chest, you can take your your elbows to the floor, maybe the crown of your head, maybe you can come all the way down onto your back, which I cannot do in this moment, so I'm not going to, but it would just look like laying on the floor with your arms up overhead. We'll take about 3 more breaths in this position. Continue to breathe deeply in and out through your nose. If this is a very intense posture for you and you find that you're clenching your jaw or your face, go ahead and try to relax your jaw and your face. Last breath. If you're reclined, any variation of that, make your way back up. And to release from the pose, we're going to come back into that tabletop position. So just press forward, plant your hands on the floor, and maybe take that quick calf stretch where you press your foot back on both sides just to get the blood flowing back into your knees. Okay, so working our way up the body from the knees, quadriceps, we're going to move into the inner thighs now. So from your tabletop position, extend your right leg to the right. Place your heel directly behind your toes. And then you can stay here. If this feels like a big stretch for your inner thigh on your right side, just stay here. Otherwise, tuck your left toes back under again and sit your hip back towards your heel. So the moment you do that, your stretch is going to intensify in your right inner thigh. And then if you even want more, you can start to walk your hands forward. Maybe rest your forehead down on your hands or the floor. You can extend your arms long. There's lots of options here, so you just need to listen to your body and adjust for maybe each side or for each day you do this practice. It's going to be different. So take 3 more breaths wherever you are in this stretch for your inner thigh. Make your way back up to that tabletop position and we'll switch sides. So you're going to extend your left leg out to the left, position your heel behind your toes, and then tuck your right toes under. Sit your hip back to your heel. And again, you can stay here. You can sit back. If you want to go a little bit deeper, maybe you just rest your forehead down. Maybe you extend your arms long. And once again, this side may be different than your other side, so make adjustments. The pose doesn't have to look exactly the same on both sides, but we want to practice both sides. And we'll take about 3 more deep inhales and exhales wherever you are. Okay, come back to your tabletop position and make your way to a seated position now. We're gonna focus on our hamstrings, the back of the top of your leg. So we'll start with a very basic pose called seated forward fold. Extend your legs out in front of you. If your legs are very bent today, that's absolutely fine. We're working in the direction of straight legs. And wherever you are, try to be in a position where you can keep your spine upright. So if that means bending your legs so you can sit up straight, that's kind of what we're working toward right now. So as you begin to gain more flexibility in your hamstrings, you can start to walk your feet a little bit more forward. Again, if you're maintaining your upright spine. So this position, this is actually called staff pose right here, is challenging in and of itself. It is a stretch for the hamstrings, and it requires some strength in your back. Okay, so what I want you to avoid is this position, and instead, even if your legs are bent, try to stay upright. So if your legs are straight and your hamstrings are feeling a little more open, you want to go deeper, of course, you can start to walk your hands towards your feet. Okay, this is going to look different for every single person based on just the flexibility here in the backs of your legs, your lower back, maybe your hips, your hip flexors. Wherever you are, take about 3 more deep breaths in and out through your nose. If you're folded forward, just come all the way back up. We're going to take another stretch for the back of your leg. This time we're going to take your right leg off to the right at about a 45-degree angle. Try to keep your toes pointed straight up, and then take your left foot and place it towards your right inner thigh. So you're making a little figure 4 position. This is just a slight twist in your spine. So the first thing you're going to do from the way you're facing is you're going to rotate so your shoulders face your toes. And then once again, with an upright spine, your toes facing up, flexed back, so you're using a little bit of strength in your quadricep. You're going to start to walk your hands forward and lean over your right leg. And again, that might look for you today like this. That's fine, as long as you feel a stretch in the back of your leg. You should also, because it's a slight twist, you're going to feel a bit of a stretch in your lower back, specifically on your left side, probably. And this is your last full breath in this position. Long, slow exhale and release. And then of course we have to do it on both sides. So switch sides. Your left leg will extend out to about a 45-degree angle. You take your right foot to your left inner thigh, pressing your knee toward the floor. If it looks like this, no worries. Face your left toes straight up and flex them back so you feel a little activity on the top of your leg. And then again, you're gonna rotate your shoulders now to the left, slight twist in your spine so you're facing your left foot. You can stay upright or you can start to walk your hands toward your foot. So as you work with your breath in any of these poses, try to focus on lengthening during your inhale, so that would look like lengthening your spine, and then deepening into your stretch on your exhale. So as you breathe out, long and slow and smooth, even if it's just a very, very minute movement that's not even visible, try to let that breath, that big, long, slow exhale guide you deeper toward your goal, which is more flexibility and more connection to your breath. So we'll take one more long inhale and exhale in this position. And release. All right, we're gonna work into some hip stretches. We'll start first in a seated position called butterfly pose. It's probably familiar to most people. It's a common stretch, a pose for a post-workout stretch. So you place your feet, the soles of your feet together. You're gonna press your knees toward the floor. And again, it's okay if they're very high up. If you need more support in your hips, you can always sit on a block to keep your spine upright. If you want to go deeper into your stretch, you can press your elbows towards your knees and hinge forward. Release if you're folded forward. We're going to move into a posture known as fire log pose. I'm going to face you to do this posture. This is a very deep hip stretch. If you're not on a yoga mat, imagine that you have a line in front of you going straight across. You want your shin nice and parallel with that line, okay? That imaginary line, or if you're on a yoga mat, with your yoga mat. Then you're gonna place, I'm just starting here with my left leg on bottom, but it doesn't matter which leg, we're gonna do both. You can take your right leg and place it on top, stacking it. So take your right ankle onto your left knee, and then your right knee is going to be directly over your left ankle. So again, this isn't a cross-legged position, okay? It's a stacked position. Imagine fire logs. So if your knee is way far up, that's fine. I want you to feel a stretch in your hip and your glute. And so the way that you can work toward that stretch is to gently press your knee toward your ankle, okay? And again, working with your breath, this might be a very small movement, maybe not even visible, but you should be able to feel it. And again, you want to feel a stretch, but no pain. So you just come to that place where you have to access your breath to hold the posture, but you're not feeling like you want to scream out in pain. That is not our goal in yoga ever. You want to be able to maintain a soft jaw, a steady breath. That's what makes you feel good after a yoga class, or hopefully during, okay? If you're feeling pretty open in your hips, your knee is pressed down toward your ankle, you always have the option of walking your hands forward and pressing your chest over your legs. Again, you don't need to feel like your pose in this moment needs to look like my pose. I'm giving you lots of different options. I just want you to feel the stretch. Okay, so we're going to take 3 more breaths wherever you are. One last point of alignment. You do want your toes in line with your heel. So your toes are flexed. Okay, they're not pointed, they're flexed. Last inhale and exhale through your nose. Okay, and we're going to switch sides. I'm placing my right leg on bottom, so just switch your legs out, and left leg on top. Start by placing your left ankle directly onto your right knee, and then your left knee is going to be pressing down towards your left ankle. Again, this side may look very different than your other side. No worries. Just come to that place where you have a stretch. If that just means gently pressing your hand down. If your knee's already down, you can hinge forward. We'll take 3 more breaths on this side. Release from wherever you are. We're going to do one last stretch for the lower body. This position is called seated straddle splits. This accesses your hamstrings, your inner thighs, and your hips. So go ahead and extend your legs from wherever you are out to an angle, both legs out to an angle. Same thing as we did before, we want the toes pointed straight up. If your legs are bent, that's fine. If your legs are barely in a V shape, that's fine also. So focusing again, we don't want to be in a position where the legs are spread wide, but we're hunched over like so. So if that means bringing your legs back together so you can sit upright, great. You can use your hands behind you for support, or if you're feeling pretty open in the inner thighs, you can start to walk your hands forward. Try, if you're taking that position, try to keep your toes pointing up as you lean forward. So try to avoid having the toes come with you as you lean forward. Keep the tops of your legs active, and you can do this by flexing your toes back towards your knees. So maybe as you hold the pose, again, the inhale, you lengthen your spine. The exhale, maybe you go just a tad bit deeper. This is how you gain flexibility. As you hold the pose, you work with your breath, and you push yourself just enough that you feel a bit of a difference after you're done holding the pose. This is going to be your last inhale and exhale in this position. Wherever you are, release. You can just take your hands, assist your legs, bring them back together. We'll just take a little counter pose here. So place your feet on the floor, bring your knees together, and then just wrap your arms around your knees. Place your forehead on your knees so you feel a stretch in your upper back. So you now get to round your spine. Take one full breath here. Excellent. Well done. You're about halfway through this yoga practice. We're going to shift from lower body focus to upper body focus, and there's a little bit of all of it when we practice our poses, but we're going to do one strength building posture here. Again, it's optional. If you're not looking for that today, you can obviously just skip it. This involves lower body and upper body and core. So you have a couple of different options. You can either cross your legs in a cross-legged position, your ankles stacked in front of each other. If you're able to, you can take half lotus or full lotus, where you cross one foot into your hip crease and the other foot into your hip crease. If that isn't accessible, no worries at all. The other option, the more challenging option, if you'd like to try it, I'm going to do this option, is to keep your legs extended out in front of you. And I'll guide you with your legs straight or bent in the same way. So you take your pick. I'm going to take lotus. So either with your legs crossed or extended, lift your feet off the floor or lift your knees off the floor. Access your core here. A little bit of balance, a little bit of strength. Take one breath, inhale. And exhale, either place your feet or your knees back on the floor. Now you're gonna take your hands by your hips and you're just gonna lift your hips up off the floor. So if your legs are extended, again, you're just lifting your hips up off the floor. Takes a little bit of arm strength and a little bit of core strength. Inhale. And you can place your hips back down on the floor. Now we're gonna combine the two, so either legs extended or bent, cross-legged. You're gonna lift your feet or knees off the floor. Now keep them up and lift your hips off the floor, and we'll hold for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Place your hips, feet, knees back onto the floor. And uncross your ankles if they're crossed. Place your feet out in front of you with your knees bent now, and we're gonna take a posture called boat pose or navasana for your core. So lift your feet up off the floor, hold your feet either bent or straight, or your legs, either bent or straight. Keep your chest lifted, extend your arms forward and hold for the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. All right, as we work our way up toward the upper body, we're gonna do some postures for our spine. So there's gonna be a little more movement here. So we'll start with a common yoga warm-up called cat and cow, and we'll hold it on each side so you can feel the stretch first. So come into a tabletop position. And we'll start with cow pose. So on a deep breath in, drop your belly down toward the floor. You're gonna lift your hips and the crown of your head. So holding it, you should feel the stretch along the front of your body, stretching out your core muscles, which we just worked. And then you should feel the dip of your low back, just building some more fluidity in the spine. So now we're gonna come into cat pose. So you're gonna start to arch or round your spine, lift and separate your shoulders, and then you can look, if you'd like to, toward your belly button, So you feel a stretch also in your neck and your upper back. This is one of my favorite stretches. Feels so good if you carry tightness in your upper back or shoulders. All right, so let's add some movement here with your breath. So as you breathe in, arch your spine into cow pose. As you breathe out, round your spine into cat. And again, long and slow inhales and exhales. Last one of each. Breathe in, breathe out. And come back to a tabletop position. We're gonna take a stretch for your shoulders, and it is a twist for your spine as well. So 2 things happening at once. Place your right hand right underneath your face and lift your left arm up high so you feel a nice stretch and an opening through the front of your left shoulder and chest. And then you're gonna slide your left arm behind your right and come on to the outside now of your left shoulder. You can place your ear on the floor, your palm will face up toward the ceiling, and your hips stay high if that's accessible to you. So you should feel a stretch in the outer side of your shoulder. This is a good gentle stretch for your neck, and it's a little twist in your upper back. On your next breath in, lift your left arm all the way up, the way we started. And breathe out, place your left hand back on your mat. Switch sides. So take your left hand right underneath your face, lift your right arm up. So feel a stretch and an opening in your chest and the inside of your right shoulder. And then slide that right arm behind your left. Come onto the outer edge now of your right shoulder. You can place your right ear on the floor. Your palm will face up toward the ceiling or the sky. And let your head be heavy on your mat, so you should not feel any tension in your neck. And take another breath. Breathe in, reach up the same way we began. Feel that stretch and that opening, and release back to tabletop position. Okay, so this is a combo stretch for your hips and your shoulders and upper back. So this is called child's pose. You're gonna take your knees wide, bring your big toes to touch, and set your hips back towards your heels. Then you're gonna start to walk your arms forward, and to the best of your ability in this posture, try to keep your arms straight and extended so that you can press your armpits down toward the floor, and you should feel a nice stretch in your shoulders, in your chest, maybe your upper back a little bit. And then definitely with your hips pressing toward your heels, you should feel a stretch in your hips. Last breath in child's pose. Okay, now come back to tabletop position. You're going to take it one step back with your hips, but one step forward with your shoulders. This is called heart melting pose. So you're going to keep your hips over your knees this time, and you're going to walk your arms, again, straight arms forward and out to a slight angle. And again, keeping your hips over your knees, start to melt your heart toward the floor. So this most likely will feel like a more intense stretch for your shoulders than the first pose, but you know, everybody is different. Some people, if you have really flexible shoulders, you can take your chin forward and actually press your chest to your mat, which I cannot do, but maybe someday. Okay, now you're gonna walk your hands back up. For me, that's a very intense pose. So we're gonna come back to a seated position. Again, like I said at the beginning of class, whatever seated position is comfortable for you, doesn't matter. It's all gonna be a bit of a stretch for the hips, but we're focusing a little bit more on arms now. So the next stretch we're gonna do is called a chest expansion from a seated position. So you can take your hands from whatever position you're at with your legs behind you and interlace your fingers. It's gonna look like this. Okay, so your arms might look like that. No worries. Maybe as you move forward and start to open your shoulders, your hands can come, the palms of your hands can come together, and maybe your arms can come to a straighter position. But that's just the direction that we're moving toward. If you're very open in your shoulders and your chest, you can press your fists all the way down toward the floor, maybe a slight lift of your chin. And if you want to take it even further and your hips are feeling open, you can always hinge forward and start to reach your arms up. Again, the hinge forward is optional if you want to just reach your arms up, but if you want to come all the way down, you can place your forehead on the floor, lift your fists up and over the back of your head, and press the palms of your hands together. So you can either come back up or release your hands down. Just release your hands. So we're gonna counter stretch our chest expansion by drawing, we'll just do the right arm first, the right arm across your body. So take the back of your right shoulder with your left hand, extend your right arm straight, really reach through your fingertips, and then gently draw your shoulder down away from your ear, and then draw your arm a little bit closer to your body. Again, that might just look like this for you today. Wherever you are is fine. I just want you to feel a stretch. Your shoulder, neck, and then we'll just switch sides. So left arm or other arm across your body. Draw your shoulder down away from your ear. Draw your arm a little bit closer to your chest, and then actively reach through your fingertips. For another breath. All right, another stretch for your shoulders. If you have a strap or a towel or a t-shirt accessible and you want to use it, I'll show you how. The direction we're working toward, this is called cow face. Arms is, we'll do right arm first, right arm up and over, and left arm behind, where you clasp your hands behind you. Okay, so, but I'm gonna give you lots of options. So that's what we're working toward. If you wanna just go right there, great. Other options are to have your elbow pointed up toward the ceiling, and then just take your opposite hand, your left hand in this case, and place it on the top of your elbow. Try to, again, keep your spine upright, so try to avoid hunching over. And then you can just press your hand down your back. And then lastly, if you have a strap or a t-shirt, you can hold one end of your strap in your right hand up and over, and then your other hand can clasp the other end, and you can start to walk your hands toward one another. These are all options. Should feel a stretch obviously in your shoulder, but also in your tricep, which is the back of your arm. Okay, one more breath, and we'll do the other side. Okay, so switch sides. Kind of know where you're going now, but go wherever you did on the other side, or maybe this side's a little bit different, but I'll walk you through the options. So option number 1 is the full clasp behind your back. That's the ultimate expression of this posture. Option number 2 is to have your left elbow facing the ceiling and your right hand pressing gently down on your left elbow, your hand walking down your back. Option 3, hold onto a strap with your left hand and then reach behind you for the other end of the strap or t-shirt or whatever you have with your right hand, and then start walking your hands towards one another. And just hold here. Big breaths in and out through your nose. Try to keep them slow and steady. Release. Okay, the next stretch we're going to do is very basic, and it's for your neck. Be mindful, the neck is very sensitive. So sit upright, make sure that your neck is tall and long, and then just place your right ear on your right shoulder. So you can have your right hand on top of your head and gently guide it toward your right ear. You can also extend your left arm long and away from you. Try to place your fingertips on the floor. That just increases the stretch. These are all just options. But again, being very mindful of your neck. It's a sensitive area. So you don't want to crank anything, and you really want to be aware of your alignment. So this is really not a good neck stretch, so try to avoid that. Again, keeping long, using your breath, and switch sides. So you can just have your hands on your knees, left ear toward left shoulder. Maybe this is what your posture looks like today. Other options are to take your left hand on top of your head, guide your left ear, I love it, toward your left shoulder. And then another option, extend your right arm long, fingertips towards the floor. Maybe they don't touch the floor, that's fine. And just enjoy the stretch. Have a very tight neck, so all these stretches feel really good and are a little bit challenging, which is good. Okay, release. And then lastly, and again, this is very mindful movement, very gentle. I'm going to show you from the side. Just slightly extend your chin forward and then down toward your chest. Okay, but your spine is upright. So common mistake with this movement is to round and crunch. So if it looks bad, it should, because this is not good for you. Okay, instead, even if you don't go very far, you're upright, your chin comes slightly forward and down toward your chest. This is extension, really getting into the muscles of the neck and upper back. If you're mindful and it feels good, you can just take some very slow and gentle rocks side to side. And come back up. Okay, we're going to move a little bit back down our body now, but we're going to do some more stretches for your spine and back. So come onto your back, lay down on your back with your knees bent. The next pose we're going to do in yoga is called bridge. In gymnastics, it's got a different name. Bridge is the full wheel, but this is called bridge pose. Place your feet on the floor, knees pointing up, hands alongside your body. Press into your heels and then lift your hips up off the floor. Okay, so this is option 1. Option 2 is to do a supported bridge. Again, if you have a block or something that looks like a block and you'd like to use it, you can take it to any height and then rest your hips down. So it's more of a passive pose, but you can potentially go a little bit deeper into the back bend. Okay, and then option number 3 is to take a chest expansion like we did earlier. This time it's from a bridge position. So you can take your hands underneath you, interlace your fingers, and then roll onto the outer edges of your shoulders. And then lift your hips a little bit higher, but keep your chin away from your chest. So again, no crunching of your neck. And we'll just take another breath here. Release down, back onto the ground. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for a back bend here. I'm going to give you 3 options. You can take bridge, which is what we just did again. You can take full wheel, which is a back bend. I'll show you in a second. Or you can take camel pose, which I'll show you now. So if you're going to take camel pose, you'll need to come back up onto your knees. If you know where you're going and what pose you want, you can get right into it. Take camel pose, come up onto your shins, take your hands to your low back, press your hips forward, lift your chin off your chest. You're gonna hold here, or if you'd like to go deeper, you can take your hands towards your heels. Okay, that's option for camel. Bridge, we just did, so you know what that looks like. Wheel. You'll just flip your hands over by your ears or your shoulders. Elbows point up, press into your hands, press into your feet, and lift everything up off the floor. So wherever you are, take one more breath. Big inhale. Big exhale. And release. We're going to take a stretch for the upper spine, and this is a big chest opener similar to camel, which I just showed you. Come back up to a seated pose or a seated position. This is called fish pose. Extend your legs long, and then you're going to make your way onto your forearms. So just take your forearms down to your mat. Spread your fingers wide so that your palms are flat to the floor. And then actively lift your chest toward the ceiling, so you're going to open the front side of your body and you're going to roll your shoulders back. Okay, now you have the option here of releasing the crown of your head, the top of your head, all the way back down onto your mat. This is a good chest and throat opener. Got a little block behind me. Actively breathe into your chest. So feel your chest rise and fall as you hold this position. Okay. This time you're going to release all the way down onto your back. And this is another posture that's really good for your spine. We have not done a lot of them throughout class, but it's a twist. So twists are good for your spine. They're also good for your digestive organs. This is a very simple supine twist. Bring your knees up either to 90 degrees, or if you'd like to and it's a little more comfortable, you can bring them a little bit closer to your chest like you're a little ball. Either way, bring your arms into extension. You can have them like in a goalpost position, or you can have them in a T position. You're gonna take your knees, whether they're in a ball or 90 degrees, and release them to the right. And you can place, if you'd like to, your right hand onto your left knee, and then you're gonna take your gaze toward your left hand, whether it's bent or straight. And then you're going to release and take it to the other side. So bring your knees back to center. And again, 90 degrees or a ball. Bring your knees now to the left. And gaze to the right. In these postures on the floor, any posture that you're comfortable with, you can always close your eyes. It brings a little more softness to the posture. Come back to center. Extend your legs back onto the floor so you're nice and long. This posture is to stretch out your side, and it's also, again, really good for your spine because you're getting flexion in a different direction. So you're going to take your legs to the left of you, from center to the left. Keep your hips where they are. Now take your shoulders to the left also. So in the direction of your feet. Try to keep your right hip and your right shoulder flat to the floor. If you roll off to the side, you're not going to feel as much of a stretch. But if you are rolled off to the side, that's okay. Just start to press your hip down toward the floor. Okay, now if you want to take it a little bit deeper, your next option is to cross your ankles, one over the other. You can experiment with both sides and decide which one is more of a stretch. And then the last option is to cross your arms up overhead and take opposite hand to opposite elbow. If you want to, again, close your eyes and then really just notice the stretch on your right side from your shoulder all the way down to your ankle, hopefully. Breathe deeply and relax your face. Now that we're on our backs and you might be able to concentrate a little bit more, see if you can come back to that equal breath. So you can count in to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you can count out 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's take one more. Okay, now switch sides by coming back to center first, maybe just a quick long stretch. And then from center, take your feet to the left. To the right, so the opposite side. Keep your hips where they are and take your shoulders to the right in the same direction as your feet. Okay, and stay here, wherever you are. You can cross your ankles as an option. Experiment with one ankle and then the other. And then you can also experiment with taking your arms up overhead. Maybe you just cross hand to wrist. Maybe you cross hand to elbow. And once again, see if you can press your left hip and your left shoulder down toward the floor. If that is really easy for you and you want to go a little bit deeper, or you're working with your breath and feel like you can go deeper, you can, again, walk your shoulders a little bit further over, or your feet. Focus on your equal breathing to the count of 5 on your inhale and the 5 on your exhale, and we'll take a couple more breaths in this position. Okay, release by coming back to center. Maybe give it a quick stretch just from a straight position, arms up overhead, point your toes. And then come into a little ball. So you're gonna round your spine now. Bring your knees toward your chest. Try to keep your hips and your shoulders flat to the floor and reach your hands around your knees. Maybe opposite hand to opposite wrist. Maybe opposite hand, popped my hip, to opposite elbow. That felt good. Press your low back down. Keep your neck nice and long. Stretch is very good for your low back, your hips, hip flexors. All right, release. All right, I left about 3 minutes here for a final Shavasana. Again, one of the things that makes yoga unique from other just stretching classes or stretching after your workout. So since you really accessed a lot of your body, well, hopefully you felt like you got to your whole body and you've been connected to your breath. You just get to come into a full release posture. So you're gonna extend your legs long, let your feet fall open. Your arms are gonna rest alongside your body, maybe a little out away from your body with your palms facing up. Your fingers are nice and soft. And then you gaze up toward the ceiling or the sky. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it at the top. Let it go through your mouth. And now you can let go of your focus on your breath and just come back to the natural rhythm of your breath. Just like you were falling asleep. So you don't have to count your inhales or your exhales or make them long or slow or deep. You just get to breathe naturally and normally. And then take a moment here to feel just the weight of your body laying on the floor supporting the weight of your body, coming into a state of complete and total relaxation. And just take one moment here to just observe or notice the difference in each part of your body, how you feel, the difference of how you feel now, as opposed to at the beginning of this practice when you first sat down. If you're enjoying your Shavasana, please stay as long as you'd like. The longer the better, always. When you're ready to get up, please take it slowly by rolling off to one side or the other first, and then slowly pressing your way up to a seated position. Thank you so much for practicing yoga today, for taking care of your body, for connecting to your breath, for taking time for yourself. I hope you enjoyed your full body class, deep stretch class. From the light in me to the light in you, namaste.